Just play the three. Don't care about a two.
Smart fires it over the top. Finds Reaves. Sets his feet. Can't get it.
That was a great out-of-bounds play, I'll tell you that.
Suns win.
The Lakers just lost to the Phoenix Suns without Devin Booker, without Dillon Brooks, without Cole Anthony, while shooting 12 more free throws than their opponent. They fell from the 2nd seed to the 6th seed and are now 1 loss away from the play-in. And the man getting paid the most on this roster disappeared again in the 4th quarter. Do you think the Lakers would actually be better off tanking the rest of this season to get the best possible draft pick? Or do you still believe they can turn this around before the playoffs? Drop your honest take in the comments right now.
The Los Angeles Lakers continue to play along this year in one of the most pointless seasons for the most relevant team in the sport. There's no point to this season. There's none. It's a LeBron exit season, and it's one
But it's not a LeBron exit season. That's the problem.
From the Lakers.
The Los Angeles Lakers lost to the Phoenix Suns 113 to 110. The Phoenix Suns without Devin Booker, without Dillon Brooks, without Cole Anthony. A Suns team that was essentially running out their backup players and their practice squad, while the Lakers showed up with their full complement of overpaid veterans and somehow still found a way to lose. They shot 16 free throws. The Suns shot 3. The game was tied at halftime, and the Lakers still lost. If you designed a scenario specifically to humiliate a franchise, you could not do much better than this. Losing to a shorthanded team by 3 points while getting 13 more free throw attempts than your opponent is not bad luck. That is a team that is broken in ways that go much deeper than one bad night.
It's frustrating as a Lakers fan because I know when it comes to the championship conversation, we're not going to be relevant. We don't have a true chance to contend in the West.
See, I guess this is where we don't see eye to eye on the LeBron future. I think it's done in LA after this, right?
The record tells the story even more brutally. The Lakers have lost 5 of their last 7 games. They have fallen from the 2nd seed all the way to the 6th seed. They are currently 1 loss away from being in the play-in tournament. 1 loss. From 2nd seed to potential play-in team. That is not a cold stretch. That is a collapse. And the collapse did not start recently. It started the day LeBron James came back from injury. Let's look at the numbers because they do not care about narratives or media protection or sports agency relationships. They just are what they are. The Lakers started the season 11-4 without LeBron James. 11 wins and 4 losses. Luka and Austin Reaves were taking turns going for 40 points on alternating nights. The team had energy, they had identity, they had a clear alpha and a clear system built around him. The vibes were genuinely good, and the results reflected it.
I mean, we that was, priority number 1 for me. Role clarity. I think since we've gotten Bron back, we haven't been as organized offensively. Too many random possessions, so that's on me. So it's those 3 things, defensive clarity, role clarity, and offensive organization.
Since LeBron returned, the Lakers are 23-16. Technically still a winning record, yes, but the trajectory is in entirely the wrong direction. And the team that was thriving without him is now spiraling with him back on the floor. The math on that is not complicated. And the conclusion it points to is one that the mainstream sports media affiliated with Clutch Sports would rather not say out loud.
This happened the entire night. This is an indication of the flawed Lakers roster. And if you say to me, well then, why did they build this team? Well, they built this team because they thought Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reaves would be just so killer on offense that you wouldn't have these situations. And they just ain't.
LeBron James is not helping this team. That is not an insult. That is what the numbers show. The net rating data has been consistent all season. When Luka and Austin Reaves share the floor without LeBron, the Lakers are one of the best lineups in the league. When all 3 of them play together, that advantage evaporates, and the team becomes genuinely difficult to watch. Brian Windhorst put the actual number at a 20-point differential per 100 possessions between the 2 lineups. 20 points. That is not a rounding error. That is not noise. That is a real and significant problem that has no polite resolution. The Phoenix Suns' loss made every piece of this painfully visible. Down the stretch of a close game, J.J. Redick made the decision to put LeBron James at center. The choice speaks for itself. When your solution to a late-game defensive problem is to put a 41-year-old shooting guard at the 5 spot against a team missing its best players, your coaching decisions are being constrained by factors that have nothing to do with basketball.
LeBron and I did not talk about the Lakers.
Redick cannot coach LeBron James the way he needs to be coached, because LeBron reportedly had significant input into Redick getting this job in the first place. That dynamic does not produce honest coaching conversations. It produces a head coach who looks into the film room and sees a player staring back at him with the energy of someone who knows exactly who controls his employment status. You cannot tell that player to come off the bench. You cannot tell that player his minutes need to be reduced. You cannot tell that player that the team is better without him in certain lineups, even when the statistics scream it from every direction. And then LeBron James had the audacity, after a game in which he scored 2 points in the fourth quarter, to take shots at the team's defense. He said if the Lakers were depending on a 41-year-old to be their best defender, they were in trouble. Zero self-awareness. A man who disappeared in the fourth quarter of a loss to a depleted Suns team is out here critiquing the defensive effort of teammates who are carrying him on their backs every night. Luka Dončić's body language tells the complete story without a single word needing to be said. He looks like a man who came to Los Angeles with championship aspirations and found himself trapped in a reality show about someone else's legacy. The frustration is visible in every interaction, every post-game moment, every play where he has to watch an offensive possession collapse because the spacing and personnel around him are being determined by considerations that have nothing to do with winning basketball games. The man said he came to win rings, not babysit anyone. He said players who need development should go to the G League. He said these things clearly and on the record, and then had to come back and play alongside the person those comments were about because nothing about the underlying situation actually changed. That is the definition of a toxic environment. When the problems are visible to everyone and nothing gets addressed, the toxicity just compounds. Now let's talk about DeAndre Ayton, because he deserves his own section in this conversation about things that are not working. 0 points, 1 rebound, 11 minutes against the Suns. The Phoenix Suns, the team that drafted him first overall, the franchise he knows better than any other. Against the team that built its system around him for years, DeAndre Ayton contributed absolutely nothing in 11 minutes of action. 0 points, 1 rebound. At some point, a general manager has to look at that stat line and have a real conversation about what exactly they are getting for this contract. The hints about future roster decisions practically write themselves. If you are building a team around Luka Dončić and you need a center who can finish in the pick and roll, protect the rim, and give you at least functional offensive production, Ayton is not the answer. He has not been the answer. And his performance against the Suns was simply the latest evidence in a case that has been building since he arrived. The Grayson Allen and Colin Gillespie situation on the perimeter is its own separate problem. The two of them were out there looking like they were auditioning for a role that requires shooting percentages that neither has demonstrated the ability to sustain under playoff pressure. The bench depth issues were masked when the team was winning earlier in the season because Luka and Reaves were carrying so much of the offensive load that it did not matter as much. Now that the losses are piling up and every game feels close, the roster construction flaws are impossible to ignore. Austin Reaves' situation deserves to be addressed directly, because the way the conversation around him has shifted is revealing in ways people are not fully discussing. A couple of months ago, the talk was about giving Reaves a maximum contract extension because of how well he was playing alongside Luka before the injury. They were trading 40-point games. The team was thriving. Reaves was making the case for every dollar of a max deal with his actual production. Now the conversation has shifted to whether he deserves a max at all. And if you trace that shift carefully, you find it happening in media circles connected to Clutch Sports around the same time that his value as a trade chip was being floated as a solution to the Bronny situation. Rich Paul going on his podcast and suggesting the Lakers trade Reaves for Jaren Jackson Jr. was not a random basketball opinion. It was a signal. The message being sent was that Reaves' roster spot is negotiable, depending on how other people around him cooperate with arrangements that have nothing to do with winning basketball games. Since returning from injury, Reaves has scored over 20 points only twice. That is a legitimate concern about his form and timing coming back. But the context matters. When Reaves was healthy and playing freely alongside Luka in a system designed to maximize both of them, they were among the most effective duos in the Western Conference. What has changed is not Reaves' ability. What has changed is the environment around him. The 5 of the last 7 losses have the Lakers sitting at the 6th seed with the play-in tournament as a realistic and imminent outcome. The trade deadline has come and gone. The only significant addition was Luke Kennard. Kennard is a good player. He is not the defensive anchor that Luka has been asking for all season. He is another shooter to stand in the corner while Luka does the heavy lifting. The Draymond Green rumors died because the assets required to make that deal happen were apparently untouchable for reasons that had nothing to do with basketball value. The first-round exit that is increasingly likely this postseason is going to force a genuine reckoning with how this roster is constructed and who is responsible for the decisions that put it together in its current form. The Lakers have their first-round pick this year. They do not have another one until 2028. That makes the 2025 draft pick either a building block or a trade chip, depending on where they land in the lottery. If this season ends badly enough, the pick could be valuable enough to facilitate a serious offseason move. The $64 million coming off the books when the 2 James contracts expire is real and significant. That money creates flexibility that the current roster does not have. Combined with Reaves potentially taking a hometown discount to stay in Los Angeles, the financial picture for next offseason is considerably cleaner than what they are working with right now. But all of that is next season. Right now, the problem is the remaining games of this season and a team that is trending in entirely the wrong direction at the worst possible time. The play-in tournament is not where championship contenders go. It is where teams that could not figure out their problems in time go to extend their season briefly before an inevitable early exit. The Lakers went from 2nd seed to 1 game from play-in because the environment around this team is genuinely toxic at every level. The coaching staff cannot make fully honest roster decisions. The star players have competing visions of what this team is supposed to be. The public comments are pointed and unfiltered, and nothing is being resolved in private before it leaks publicly. And the numbers that everyone can see clearly, the lineup data, the net rating splits, the 4th quarter scoring logs, all point to the same conclusion that nobody with a Clutch Sports affiliation wants to say on national television. LeBron James is the problem. Not the only problem, but the biggest one. The Lakers are 1 loss away from the play-in, and the same issues that have been visible all season are still sitting there unresolved. The trade deadline gave them Luke Kennard. The roster still has the same problems, and the 4th quarter disappearing acts are becoming a pattern that no amount of media protection can cover forever. Hit that like button and subscribe right now.